All right, before we get this video off to a go, I feel I owe you folks a explanation. Many of you have sent in emails asking, it's been a month. Why have you not received, why have we not released any videos? Well, about a month ago, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. And long story short, it flipped my family upside down. I was having a hard time getting in front of a camera, keeping my composure, and also delivering that energy and enthusiasm that you folks have given me some praise over the years that you enjoy watching. You enjoy the level of enthusiasm that you receive from our videos. And I understand we all have our problems that we're dealing with, and YouTube can be a outlet to get away from reality, enjoy, unplug, and just get in somebody else's shoes. And if I could not deliver that same level of enthusiasm, energy that you folks tune in each and every time with, I didn't want to be disrespectful of your time. So I took some time off. This is actually the first video that we are releasing in about a month's time. And so I appreciate your understanding. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoy this video. This video is one that I've wanted to do on a little while on a topic that has come up over and over again with many of you. How do you go out there and select a conversion van? How do you know you're positioning yourself with a company that's going to treat you fairly? Because let's face it, these vans can be pretty pricey. So with that said, my friend, thank you very much for your understanding, and I hope you enjoy this video. Now, if you're around my age, I'm 30 by the way.
Yeah, right.
When you hear the term conversion van, you might be thinking of something like this. Now, there was nothing wrong with a good old Chevrolet conversion vans back in the 80s, but today,
no way.
Where conversion vans of my childhood had plush captain chairs, convertible bed in the back, and high roof, and little Elks, today conversion van companies are filled from top to bottom, man, with luxurious amenities that we couldn't even possibly have dreamt back in the day. Now, of course, not all conversion van companies outfit their rigs with the same level and quality and features, though, so this begs the question, how do you know which company to go with? Well, today's video is all about answering that very question. We'll dive into 4 central features of high-quality van companies that you should look for. Things like product lines and services, quality of the work, their level of communication, and their experience in the conversion van game. Now, we'll also chat with a real-life conversion van owner about his experience searching for the ideal company that met his very specific needs and how his custom conversion van experience has been so far. Now, in fact, I've got more than a half dozen questions that he'll answer for us, and in doing so, we're going to pull back the curtain on building a conversion van and reveal what his experience has been like. Now, this is going to give you, look at it as firsthand information that you need to make the best decision for your very own conversion van build. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the video, I do want to give you a little background. You see, I was born on a cool autumn day in upstate New York. Okay, maybe not that much background.
That's not funny.
I've evaluated dozens of van companies over the years as part of my work for 4-Wheel Drive Talk. It's an interesting part of the job because I get to see these vans up close and personal and meet the teams responsible for designing and building these vans. So, in other words, I get my hands dirty with the details. I look at the suspension components. I lay on the bed, see for myself how the galley is laid out, and I use the toilet as well.
Where's your toilet?
I can't even keep a straight face with that. Okay, I'm kidding about the toilet thing, but you get where I'm leaning with this. I've spent a lot of time in conversion vans in recent years and a lot of time asking questions of the van builders as well. Now, this has helped me really identify a few critical features that you should look for when considering a conversion van company. Now, I'd like to use Camp Life Customs as a prime example as a top shelf conversion van company. Why? Well, that is simple. You see, I've spent a great deal of time with these folks and have explored numerous vans that these guys have converted. And as you're going to see, these guys, they tick off the boxes regarding what is most important when choosing a company for a conversion van build. You see, some conversion van companies have vans that are ready to made or on the lot ready to go. You just pick which one is closest to your wants and needs and ride off into the sunset. Now, this is a great option because you don't have to wait for a custom van to be built. But there are some downfalls to this arrangement, primarily let's call a spade a spade. You are stuck with whatever has already been put into the van with little or no customization options. Now, what I've found is that the best conversion van companies out there offer semi-custom or fully custom build options. For example, Camp Life Customs will give you the framework for a semi-custom build, such as specific van, make, and model, and you choose the various features, amenities, and options to make this thing your own. Now, fully custom build, on the other hand, allows you to bring in your own van, sit down with the team at Camp Life Customs, and come up with a conversion van that meets your exact needs and features that you want. Custom interior LED lighting? No problem. Interior ski and snowboard storage? You bet. An off-grid electrical system with solar and 800 amp hours of lithium battery? You got it. The possibilities are absolutely endless.
Yes!
In other case, you get as much control over the final product with a semi-custom or a fully custom conversion than if you buy a van that's already converted and sitting on a lot someplace. So if you want my 2 cents, if you're spending this kind of money for a van, you might as well make it exactly what you want. Right? And once you've identified the conversion van company that actually offers what you want and need, it's necessarily to evaluate the quality of the work that these people do. Now, this is easy for me because I get to see these vans in person. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I can scope out the van top to bottom, inside and out, but evaluating quality can be a little bit more difficult if you're searching for a conversion van online. Now, my recommendation to overcome this issue is to take your time and explore the company's complete builds. They should have plenty of photos and actually video for that matter, that highlight their work so you get as much detail at the look of their work as you can. And if they don't have photos and videos on their website, friends, ask for some. Now, if I can make a suggestion while talking about photos here, when you do get them, view them on the largest screen that you can, not your phone. This is really important because when part of one of the things that you're looking at here is the attention to detail that this company does with their vans. And if you are looking at something on your phone, and don't get me wrong, while our phones have great resolution and so forth, you're not going to be able to get a full appreciation for the good and the bad as you can on a larger screen computer itself. Now, take the van from Camp Life Customs that I showed you earlier as a great example of this. Camp Life Customs team posted a ton of photos of this incredible van online to showcase what they've done. And their attention to detail in the build process is absolutely off the chart. Now, this image, for example, shows the beautiful combination of the curved wood slat roof and custom LED lighting. Note the bow tie inserts in the wood slats as well. That's a detail that a lowbrow operation simply won't provide. And, actually a little interesting fun fact about this van that I learned after the fact. There's well over 2,500 hours that has been put into converting this van over to as you see it here. Now, of course, consulting reviews and reading client testimonials will help you evaluate the quality of the company's work as well. And if you can't find reviews or testimonials, though, man, friend, take that as a sign that something may be amiss. Now, they say communication is the key to any successful relationship, and that certainly applies when you're looking at a conversion van company. Now, these vans, hey, as we keep bringing up here, are not cheap and take months to build. So testing a company's commitment to communication before you sign on the dotted line is hugely important. Now, a great way to tell if a conversion van company is going to be able to do what you need them to do, contact them with questions. A company that has your back will get timely responses back to you and go the extra mile to ensure that you have all the information that you need to proceed with either the build or to find greener pastures. Now, if you ask me, a conversion van company should have all the details they can muster about their services on their website, and all that information should be easy to find and easy to decompress. So really, you shouldn't have a ton of questions to ask if they've done their job marketing themselves online. But if you do have questions, they should be ready, willing, and able to answer them quickly. Now, I have nothing against new players in the game, but there's something to be said about a conversion van company with experience. And not only does a proven track record of success indicate a company's ability to meet your needs, but it also gives you some peace of mind that they've been there, done that, and have developed a process for getting your van built to your specifications on budget and on time. Now, in looking at Camp Life Customs, they've completed more than 100 builds and have more than 40 years of combined experience in the industry. Yeah. And again, every company has to start someplace, but if I'm plunking down a big chunk of change for one of these vans, Man, I don't want to be the first company's client. Now, me yammering about what you should look for in a conversion van company is one thing, but hearing about the actual experience of getting a conversion van from a customer is a whole complete different thing. So I want you to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Now, I recently had a chance to interview Alex, who not only has a really cool name, he's a Camp Life Customs customer who happens to be the owner of the van that I've been showing throughout this video. Now, his van, which is named the Nautilus, stinking cool, is one of the most impressive vans that I've ever seen. So it made perfect sense to sit down with this guy and get him to talk about his conversion van experience. All right, Alex, before we dive into some of these questions, can you share with the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Alex. Well, it's always wonderful to meet a fellow Alex traveler in the world that we live in, and I have to say I'm very honored to be here. And a little bit about myself: I'm a videographer. I live in Southern California. I grew up in New York, moved out here, went to film school in 2006, and went through a really wonderful learning experience, going through the process of understanding how films are made, but then also going deeper into the nature of reality and kind of going down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And that led to what now my particular brand of video editing, videography is called video shamanism, which is the idea of being able to translate the world of videography to people that oftentimes don't understand how to do IT stuff and do video work, but then also understanding the nature of reality and consciousness and expanding awareness and trying to get to the deeper nature of things. So I find myself kind of in the middle of the tech world and the spirit world oftentimes. So I would say that's a pretty good description of myself.
You know what's funny, Alex, is the when I was down there, seeing your van in person, actually, I've seen it a few times now. One was actually at a tiny house, a tiny house expo down in San Diego. And I've had the opportunity to meet you a handful of times. And first off, I really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing with our audience a little bit about a handful of questions we're going to be asking on your van here shortly. But among all the times that I've had the opportunity to meet you, I'm from New York. I had no idea you're from New York as well.
No kidding. Well, of course, the synchronicity would allow such an event to occur like that. Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in a town called Mayapack, just outside of the city, about an hour north in Putnam County, about an hour drive from the city, and the Hudson River Valley, just across border from Connecticut. And yeah, it was spent, I mean, the formidable years of my life until I was 18 years old when I was there. And it was beautiful. Whereabouts in New York are you from?
So when asked this, I generally say Lake George, Saratoga, because most people have never heard of the small little farming community called Argyle, which is where I'm from. It's so small that my graduating class way back in the day was 32 people.
Wow. Cool. Well, I've spent some time in Lake George quite a bit, so I'm a little familiar with that area, but that's proper, getting close to proper upstate.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's a solid three and a half hours north of where you were at there.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
good example of a small world. Now I'm going to dive into one of the first questions here, and what we're going to do here is we're going to have a little fun here. We're going to jump in the Wayback Machine, and we're going to go back to the morning. If you remember, what was the original inspiration for picking up this conversion van? Well, no, because you had the van, then you had the work done. So we're going to go back further beyond before that. Why a sprinter van like this versus like a traditional RV or a truck and trailer combo?
That's a really good question. So I remember it vividly. Just it was very interesting. I had fallen asleep watching YouTube videos, I guess, and I woke up in the middle of the night, because the TV was blaring. I woke up and the TV was playing on a playlist of van life videos, and it was already in the middle of it, and I just kind of woke up and started finding myself captivated by all of these people living in their vans and all the custom work that they've done and kind of the innovation and creativity that comes with being in the van life world. And that really, and I remember thinking to myself, because I was so captivated by it when I woke up, must have been, it was really late, early in the morning. And I thought to myself, like, did I click a video about van life, or did this just automatically start playing? And even to this day, I can't answer that question. It was one of those things. So if I could trace it back to a single moment, it was just a beautiful hallelujah moment, because especially flashing forward to where we are now, because it's so important to me. But there was it was a moment of seeing people on YouTube where how much originality and independence comes with the van life world, and seeing all these different kinds of vans. I started to learn about the different kinds. Yeah, Sprint. I was totally unfamiliar with it. So seeing Sprinter vans and ProMasters, the Ford Transits, and all the different custom builds and all the different van building companies and the van life world, the whole subculture of people. So I would say that was probably in 2022, yeah, like beginning of 2022 that happened.
So let's segue, or let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about, now there are a lot of companies out there that do these sort of conversions on these Sprinter vans. So what made you go to Camp Life Customs?
Yeah, well, once I realized that this is what I wanted to do, and I found that I had the means to do it in that period of time, I began first I had to find a van. That was my initial step forward. Once I found the van, then I knew I had to find a van builder. I had originally talked with my dad, maybe, hey, because he's pretty handy with electrical and building stuff, pretty crafty. But I was like, hey, maybe we want to build this together. And he said, no, Alex, this is not something we can do, because this is way beyond. This is like building a small house, and even more so because it's on wheels. You got to find a van builder. So I went online and started just Google searching for people that live in my area. Anyone really relatively close, because I know they're all over the place, but I wanted to find someone that I knew that if it was going to take, better part of a year, it would be nice to not have to be so far from it. So I searched online, and I think it was actually the first place that I found was Camp Life Customs on Google, just searching. When I contacted them, and they had told me what pretty much every other van builder had told me as well, which was, we'd love to work with you. We'll put you on a wait list. We're booked. We're booked for at least another 6, 7 months in advance. And every single place I called was like that. So I started to get a little upset that maybe this wasn't going to work out in the right timing, but I just trusted that it would. I just trusted, like, I'll find the right van builder. And out of all, I must have contacted at least 7 or 8 different van building companies. I really liked Camp Life Customs because of the work that they had, their professional reviews that they had, and just, I don't know. It was I spoke to Bobby on the phone about it, and he seemed really cool, but it was just like, it's not going to work out. So I ended up finding another van builder that I decided to meet me in a Starbucks parking lot, and I showed up and talked with this guy in a parking lot. Nice guy and everything. I explained what I wanted to do, very, like, totally informal, and he was just like, yeah, yeah, sure, we could do whatever you want. Yeah, how much you willing to spend? And I said, yeah, about, this much money. He's like, oh yeah, yeah, sure, we could do that. Just kind of just yesed me up and down, and then said, okay, well, where are the keys? You ready? And I'm like, I don't know. I know I don't have the keys here. Like, I kind of want to. I was thinking to myself, like, I want to vet you first a little bit. I'm not just gonna, like, hand my keys over to some guy in a parking lot and just say, "See you later. I'll trust you to make it all work out." So I ended up obviously not going through with that, because it just felt a little sketchy. And then, sure as luck would have it, Camp Life Customs contacted me within a week after that and told me that someone had dropped out of their van building schedule and they had an opening. So they said, well, are you still interested? I'm like, absolutely. Well, can I come meet you? And that was really the defining moment, was when I ended up going to meet them, met Bobby at his shop in San Diego, and I saw their incredible workspace and their crew and pictures of their builds, and really the most important thing was just having a conversation with Bobby about it, because he really instilled the trust that I the complete contrast of the guy that I was talking to in the parking lot, where I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Bob was telling me what's possible, what's not possible, and yeah, we can do what you want, but want to make sure that, we sometimes if you're going for something, it may not be the most feasible, practical thing. They'll let me know. And I'm like, okay. So it was just kind of like a match made in heaven at that point. So that's kind of like the short version of the story, how I got involved with Camp Life Customs.
Very interesting. And frankly speaking, I think you made the right choice. I can't imagine handing over keys, meeting somebody in a random parking lot, or maybe it wasn't random, but the point being here, and then, here you go. It's funny, you talk about the shop down there. It was one of the first things that when I went down there, which was the first time I saw your van down there, the shop really stands out. How about those lights up above?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I
But
love that.
speaking of amazing in lights, I want to shift gears and talk about the interior design because, again, you look at your backdrop behind you. You're sitting in your van, of course, for those that might not recognize it yet, but he's sitting inside this van here, and all through the van, he has these lights going through there. One of the things that I found very amazing and quite wow, it really catches you off guard is when you open up those back doors in your vans and you see all those lights and you see all the woodwork and you see the design work that was done inside this van. I have to ask you, Alex, so the design, where did the inspiration, how did that all come together there?
Very, very important question. I would say probably one of the most pressing issues that or pressing uh, thoughts that I had in terms of building this van was the aesthetic and the look of the interior of this van. Because as my job, well, it's not even really my job. It's more of just like my personality is all about having a really comfortable trippy aesthetic. One of my nicknames that I have amongst my friend circles is Trippy Lippy. So if you go back and if we travel back in time to all of the different rooms that I've had, my dorm rooms, my bedrooms, I've stayed at different houses and stuff, you would see a variety. I always wanted to kind of look like a layer, like a psychedelic kind of reflection of artwork a little bit. So
Sure.
that was really important to me that the van had that aesthetic because all the van builds that I've seen online, for the most part, are really just they're beautiful. So many beautiful builds out there, and they all have a lot of all of the things that you would need in like a camper. So they're basically campers, like little mini houses inside of a van. And of course, this van has all of those things, but I wanted to make sure that this actually I didn't want it to feel like a camper. I grew up traveling around in campers with my parents, and my parents had a seasonal campground that we'd go visit in. So I grew up having different campers, and last thing I wanted was this thing to feel like just like a normal camper on the inside. So the lights were extremely important. I really love color changing lights. I do podcasting and video editing work. The podcasting specifically, I wanted it to be a very comfortable, pleasing environment, not just to my guests who's here, but for any viewer or audience members that's going to be watching it, that I would be able to have color changing lights. And we went through the whole process with Adam at Camp Life Customs to go through the different kinds of wood that were available, the different color schemes that were available. Also, there's a really cool feature. I'm sure you have footage of it. There's a curved wall that I have in the van, and that was something that Adam actually showed me some images of apartments where somebody had built into their kitchen nook a curved wall, and it kind of brought this really cool, like, hey, this is different. What do you think about this? And I was like, yes, this looks amazing. So having the color changing lights, the curved wall, and also one of the most I would say probably one of the most influential things that I maybe brought into the design function of this van was the ceiling, where there's a strip that runs along the middle. It's an accent with a pattern, a geometric pattern design that's from one of my favorite films, one of my favorite film directors, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And it's a pattern from the carpet that runs along the hallways in The Shining. It's this really
Isn't that
cool.
that pillow right behind you right there?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is the pattern that's on the ceiling. I ended up getting these to match the ceiling once I got the van after it was done being constructed. But yeah, so with all I really love the wood design. I've seen some van builds that have all white, and I understand that that helps with creating more of a feel of openness and space. But since I didn't have like a full bathroom set up in here, having having the wood was really, I just love the feel of the wood, and the bamboo really looks great. And the accent of the orange and the red on the ceiling just really makes it all pops. And it's different. I haven't really seen anything like this. So that was, I would say, some of the most important aspects of the design aesthetic of the build.
Now, how has owning this van changed the way that you explore or how you travel?
Mm. That is something that I'm still experiencing and following in this journey to realize the potential of the question that you're asking. And when I first got the van, and my intention for it was that it would be, I wouldn't be living in it full time, but I wanted it to be capable in the event that I did need to live in it full time, that I could. So I have everything I need to live in it full time, but also from originally it was really for an office space, because I do videography work, and I had been working out of my bedroom or my studio apartment for years and years and years and years. And interestingly, when COVID happened and everyone had to stay home and work from home, and freaking out, I was like, "Oh, well, this is normal for me. I'm working from home all the time." But during that process, a lot of the office space rents went down. So I was able to actually rent an office space relatively cheaply in the early parts of like the COVID in 2020, 2021. And once I had my own designated office space, it was like I saw the light, and like I spend all of my time in this room all the time. So much better for my peace of mind to not just be like rolling out of bed like to my computer right there in one single space. So the van serves as my office on wheels, and I use it for that purpose. So I will drive it out on adventures, like even short adventures throughout the week. I'll just go to the beach, or I'll go to a park, or I'll just drive into town, into like Carlsbad or something like that, park in town, and just like work from there. I can open up the door and just have a beautiful view of the ocean from wherever I'm sitting or wherever I'm going. But then now, as I'm starting to become more comfortable driving it and understand living in here more time and time again, I take little camping trips here and there. At least once a month, I'll take a trip out to, like, I've been to Sedona, I've been to Joshua Tree, Yosemite, went to Mount Shasta last year, and some other places around. I'm now starting to realize that I really want to make this my daily driver, and I would like to be spending more time in here, kind of leaning more into the van life world. I don't have to, I'm not forced to live out of this permanently full time, but out of choice, this van has given me the potential and put me in a position where I feel like, wow, I could really spend much more of my time out of here. So I actually just sold my car, and I'm going to be using this van as my full daily driver and making it my full vehicle, like number one.
The lifestyle is quite addicting, especially when you look at a lot of the places that you can go, and especially with what you do. I mean, open up those big old doors there, and you can be parked in Joshua Tree one day, Big Bear, Anza, looking over the Green Canyon while doing your video editing work for your clients. I mean, yeah, I mean, what's not to like about that? And actually, speaking of which, out of all the places that you've gone so far, Alex, what is your favorite location that you've taken the band to?
Right now, I would say there are two in competition. The number one was in Sedona, just outside of Sedona. There was this really beautiful campsite just north of Cottonwood that I found really just on the spot. And that's been another beautiful thing about the van is with the planning, of course, you want to do planning and make sure you have things in line. But since you're kind of in a position where you don't have to really plug in anywhere every time, it's going to be okay. So I just go with the flow. I found this really cool campsite when I was visiting Sedona doing some work out there. It was a beautiful little oasis and next to a creek and the trees, and it was just, when I pulled in there, it was so beautiful. So the nature, it was the desert, of the high desert, but it was also the beautiful waterways, and and just the community vibe of campground as well. So it was like a normal campground. Stayed there for 3 nights. And so that was probably one of my favorite places I've stayed so far. But then the other one that's in top competition, I just got back from a camping event called Van Jam out in Yakumba at the Danza Hot Springs out in the desert. And that was also one of my favorite places too, just because of the community. Going and being around other people that are involved with van life and spend their time out there and do creative art stuff. And yeah, so I would say it's in the competition. I mean, I really, really love Sedona, so that's probably like my favorite place right
Sonona.
now.
It is really, really nice up there. Now, the creek place, were you close enough where you could actually hear that therapeutic sound of that creek moving along?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like you said, best part is having the back doors open and the door and just have the breeze flowing through. I had the back doors open. You could see the creek. I was just like one campsite row away from where the creek was. So you could hear it, you could see it from my bed. And that is just like so awesome.
Now, a moment ago, we were talking about your line of work and actually just circling back around it. So you do, help me understand your full scope of the type of work that you do and how has you were talking about sitting the Grand Canyon or at that creek and having the doors open and working there. So can you expound a little bit further as far as how are you able to use the van for the type of work that you do?
So the most present thing that I've been able to use the van doing what I do is with my podcasting. I've been doing podcasting for since 2017, but it was always on Zoom.
Mhm.
I never really had, I didn't want to buy into the equipment. It was really just about the conversations. And that's something I would always give people advice for if they're just getting into videography. It's like, what kind of stuff do I have to buy? What kind of school do I have to go to? Where do I have to? It's like, just realize you have all the technology, just use what you have and just put the content first and the technology after. Like, just don't buy in. You don't have to buy in so much. And so anyway, for me, I was doing podcasting already so that once I got the van, now I actually have a space where I can have people come in and have a great conversation. I've gone all over the place in Southern California, just interviewing friends of mine mostly at this point, but meeting new people has always been a fascination of mine and hearing their stories. And the van is the perfect vehicle, literally, literally and metaphorically, to have these conversations where people feel comfortable and we can get into a really cool discussion about stuff. So I would say the van number one is really the best suited for that. And then for my video editing work, that was a big part of the build and the design was making sure that I had this nice table that I'm got my setup going on right here that I can have I'm not limited to just sitting like in a corner, like all uncomfortable in a little strange position doing my editing, because that's where I do most of my work is I'm video editing on the computer, and I'm sure you understand that too. But it's the having the van has been groundbreaking and evolutionary for my workflow, so that I can still be, I still feel so much more motivation to be creative in here because of the aesthetic, because it's so wonderful and comfortable and it's mine. But then also it has all of the functionality that I have, like all the space that I need to set up my gear. I can store my equipment when I need to. I can travel where I need to go. It's like a video studio on wheels. So it speaks for itself in that regard, I think.
Very cool, very cool. So those that are watching this video and who might be in the market for either some video editing or video production, as we close this off here, and again, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to jump on here and share some valuable insights about how this van has assisted or changed your perspective or allowed you to get out there and actually bring your work more mobile. But for those that may be in the market for some video editing or production, how can they find you?
Thank you, Alex. They can find me, anyone, you can all find me on my website, videoshaman.com. That's video, SHAMAN, shaman, like the medicine man. Videoshaman.com. You can also go to my YouTube channel. It's if you type in Alex Lipton Video Shaman. You'll see my videos pop up on there. I'm also on Spotify. You can look up Video Shamanism channel on Spotify. I have my podcasts up on there. So, but for any video editing work, go to my website, videoshaman.com. I'd be more than happy to talk with you and see what's going on. You can see some of my work there, some links to other projects I've worked on, and my resume and whatnot if you need that. But yeah, the van kind of serves as my my little mobile editing production studio on wheels.
And boom, just like that. Alex, thanks again for joining the show, and we'll talk to you another time.
Fantastic, Alex. Thank you. I so appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
So with that, not only do you have a few critical questions to ask yourself when looking for a van company, but you also have firsthand account of how taking your time in selecting the right company for your needs can result in a van that is truly incredible. Now, as I said earlier, I've looked at a lot of vans over the years and spent a lot of time learning about many of the different van companies out there. And so if you really want to elevate your experience and get a van that punches way out of its weight class, it's hard to go wrong with Camp Life Customs. Now, I'll put a link in their website, or I'll put a link to their website in the description below if you want to check them out further. Now, as always, man, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you learned a little bit about something that will help you as your search for the perfect van continues. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do me a big old fat favor and tell YouTube's algorithm, hey, that this video is awesome by giving this video a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, by all means, ask them down below. But friends, that is all I have here for you. So I will see you in the next video.